Run it back nation. What is good? Sixers, sickos. What is good? And I mean, just absolute sicko behavior from all of us for even considering to buy back into this team this year. Absolute sicko behavior. We need to be hospitalized. We need to be admitted into a mental institution. This is not okay. There's not many of us. You guys got to understand this. Most people stopped watching. And that's why you get to keep that same energy, people. That's why you get the people that'll see, this video or a post on Twitter, and they'll be like, weren't you just out on the team 2 weeks ago, bro? Make up your mind. Because they're not watching. They think I'm just randomly flip-flopping. They're not watching the team actively flip-flop, which controls my emotions completely. Yes, the 76ers won 4 games in a row. Yes, they pulled off a grueling, grind-out type of game tonight. A very respectable win on the back of straight hustle and effort and team basketball and team defense and resiliency. And there's a lot of things I want to say. On a back-to-back also, we got players worth $500 million that can't play a back-to-back because they're tired. Meanwhile, Tyrese Maxey, Justin Edwards, Ricky Council, Adem Bona, Yabusele, Kelly Oubre, not tired. Kyle Lowry, somehow not tired. He's 58 years old. There's a lot of things I want to say. Thanks for being here. Before I get into it, do me a favor, hit the like button one time, close out the chat, and hit the like button for me. That would be greatly appreciated. Subscribe to the channel. We are approaching 27,000 subscribers. And all of these post-game live shows are brought to you by Game Time Ticket app. Download the Game Time Ticket app. Use promo code CLNS for $20 off. And do it now before the 76ers ticket prices start to inch back up. Keep showing me love on the podcast platforms. We're almost on the first page when you type Sixers into Apple Podcasts. Thank you for all the 5-star reviews. Go give me a 5-star review over there if you haven't. And I think that's my whole intro, but I've never had an intro for those of you that know the real story about that. The Philadelphia 76ers win 117-104 over the Sacramento Kings. And when I say this was a resilient, grind-out, dogfight type of game, I mean that because once again, this team started the game looking like garbage, and Nick Nurse called a timeout within the first 5 minutes. This is the second game in a row, the second game in 48 hours, where the 76ers got punched in the mouth. The first 5 minutes of the game looked like they were going to get ran off the floor. Nick Nurse called a timeout 5 minutes into the game. And somehow they clawed their way back to controlling the game. They withstood a couple of major runs by the Sacramento Kings in the first quarter, in the second quarter, a huge one in the third quarter that we thought put us away. The Kings had our grave dug. They had the shovel put away, and they were carrying us over to lower us down in. And somehow, some way, we climbed back out in the third quarter. A 24-6 run in 5 minutes by the Sacramento Kings in the third quarter. We were down by 12 after that run, or 14 maybe, and somehow we survived. By the way, I'm only here for the vibes. I see the people in the chat and the people on Twitter and the people in the comments talking about, I still hate this team. Why are they winning now? I want them to tank. I still hate this player or that player. I'm staying on this side. That's fine. But don't come at me for enjoying myself because, shout out to my boy RJ, I'm just here for the vibes. And I'm just riding a roller coaster. That's all I'm doing. And when it's looking good and they're winning some games, I'm going to enjoy that. Do I think this team's going to win an NBA championship? Probably not. Do I think they might sneak into the play-in tournament and get smoked in the first round? Very possible. But I kind of just accepted what it is this year. And at the end of the day, we all go to work. We all have our day-to-day normal, stressful life activities. And we just turn on a sports game to escape reality for 2 hours and enjoy something. And that's all we're doing. We're just here for the vibes, right? Right, RJ? We're just here for the vibes. What do we want to say, man? The turning point of this game was in the third quarter. And I'm going to do something crazy right here, but I'm going to shout out a guy who I have been ripping to shreds since the preseason, Reggie Jackson. For those of you that watch this game and were paying close attention in the third quarter, the Sacramento Kings went on a 24-6 run. There was some lineups on the floor by Nick Nurse that looked like they could not get a bucket or a stop. And Reggie Jackson came in the game during that 24-6 run by the Kings and got back-to-back tough buckets in the paint over Malik Monk, maybe De'Aaron Fox, maybe somebody else. But I just wanted to shout out Reggie Jackson. And then he hit a three from the top of the key in the third quarter also. He had 7 points in that quarter. If he got another one, let me know. But I just wanted to shout him out because it was one of those moments where a team looks like they're putting you away. A 24-6 run in 5 minutes. You're down by 12. The Sixers, this entire team would have laid, the Sixers this entire season would have laid down and died right there, down by 12 after a 24-6 run by the Kings. We're talking offensive rebounds. They hit 3 3-pointers in a row as part of that run. Keon Ellis, Sabonis hit one from the top of the key. Malik Monk probably. They would have laid down and died. The team that I knew the beginning of this season, or maybe the first 40 games, even with Joel Embiid and Paul George on the floor. They didn't lay down and die. And in a moment where you were like, somebody needs to stop the bleeding now, it just so happened to be Reggie Jackson coming into the game. And the Kings were in zone in that third quarter, by the way. I don't remember if they were running zone in the first half, but we were really struggling with the zone in the third quarter. And Reggie Jackson was one of those guys again. And you know, when you look at guys like Justin Edwards and Ricky Council and guys like that, do they have the experience to know how to deal with the zone or what you really have to do to break the zone? And it felt like Reggie Jackson kind of took the basketball right there and said, give me the damn rock. I know how to break a zone. And he went right into the paint and got a couple of buckets. And I just wanted to shout out Reggie Jackson for that because I've been ripping him to shreds the entire season. And Kyle Lowry, too. This is the second game in a row that Kyle Lowry was effective. This is the second game in a row where Kyle Lowry was in the positive of the plus minus. Kyle Lowry in this game, good God, was a plus 27. So I'm shouting out Reggie Jackson from the eye test. He was a plus 18, which just tells you that these are the guys that were on the floor when the Sixers made the runs that saved the game. And it also just proves that I don't, in fact, know ball at all. People tell me all the time, you don't know ball, you don't know ball, you don't know ball. The lineup combination that I've been just screaming about all season, Reggie Jackson and Kyle Lowry, was the lineup that won this game. A plus 27 and a plus 18. And Kyle Lowry had 5 rebounds and 8 assists. And then, you know, you couldn't write a chapter of a storybook any more perfectly than Tyrese Maxey to kick it out to Kyle Lowry with 30 seconds left to hit the dagger 3 in front of the Philadelphia crowd. Listen, I don't know if that's going to last. Probably not. But we're going to enjoy it for what it is right now. Is it a good thing that Kyle Lowry just performed like that in crunch time in a close game? Probably not, because Nick Nurse is probably going to believe now that Kyle Lowry is in fact in his prime and is going to play him 40 minutes a game, and he's going to go back to what we're used to seeing, because at the end of the day, he's 40 years old. He had 13 points, 8 assists. How many? It felt like he had some steals. He doesn't have any steals on the stat sheet. 5 rebounds and plus 27. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. And I, in fact, don't know ball. But I will say the experience of Kyle Lowry and Reggie Jackson really helped the 76ers in the second half expose the Kings' zone defense that they were beating us with. So I think I just wanted to say that. The Kings on that 24-6 run, and then the Sixers answered with a 21-7 run to finish out the third quarter. And we're up by, 6 going into the fourth. We also ran a zone of our own. I wasn't paying attention to kind of really what style of defense each team was playing in the first half, but once I noticed the Kings in zone, I noticed Nick Nurse also go to zone, because guess what? The Kings can't shoot. I mean, realistically, you got Sabonis, De'Aaron Fox, and DeMar DeRozan out there. That's a team, just like they should run a zone against us, we should run a zone against them. And so we answered with a zone of our own, and they struggled, because De'Aaron Fox is a 30% three-point shooter. Sabonis, he'll hit one once in a while, but he doesn't really want to, so you can just let him go, and he'll just pass the rock up there. He's not going to, shoot 3 after 3 after 3. DeMar DeRozan passes up wide open threes like Ben Simmons. So the zone started to work for us too on the other end, and the Kings couldn't hit a shot in some of those runs in the third and the fourth quarter. Even DeRozan was even ice cold from the mid-range, which, maybe credit our defense, maybe he was just having a really bad night. He's usually absolutely money from that little soft spot on the right side of the floor and the left side of the floor in the mid-range. But he couldn't buy a bucket in crunch time, even in his sweet spot in the mid-range, So that's really, part of the way we won the game. The other way we won the game is Tyrese freaking Maxey, dude. Tyrese Maxey continues to be back. Tyrese Maxey continues to be back. Another just gutsy leader performance from Tyrese Maxey. I don't know how many games in a row this is of good efficiency and clutch scoring from Tyrese Maxey, but he did it again. 30 points, 8 assists, 4 rebounds. He was only 1 for 6 from 3, but look at the fact that he only took 6 threes. So many games this season where Tyrese Maxey was just unsure of himself or just looked off balance and out of sync. He would have chucked 3 after 3. He was resorting to bad three-point shots, the deep step back 3 and things like that. And he was racking up games where he had 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 three-point attempts, getting into LaMelo Ball numbers. Tyrese Maxey was most of the season. So the fact that he only put up 6 threes when he wasn't really hitting them tells me that he's continuing to grow more and more confident, and the game is coming to him. He just he's getting more and more in control of the entire game. In the way are the Kings, literally an NFL defensive back playing in the NBA. He's 6'6", 240. He's a monster. He flies from one end to the other, attacks the rim with just like violence, and either draws fouls or dunks on people. At one point, DeMar DeRozan got so frustrated with... Oh, am I frozen? I'm ranting this whole time, and I'm frozen on YouTube, bro? Am I frozen? Y'all refresh and come back, man. My thing says excellent connection. My thing says excellent connection. Rewind 2. What do you mean rewind 2 minutes? I can't rewind. I'm live. We heard nothing for the last 2 minutes. Damn, bro. I think I was talking about Ricky Council and his effect on the game going end to end, just getting rebounds, flying end to end, attacking the rim as violently as he does, and doing his thing. And I don't know. I hope you guys heard my Tyrese Maxey rant, my rant about how amazing Tyrese Maxey was in this game and another all-star level performance and leading a team to victory that has no reason to be winning these games. Run it back, still got AOL. Oh, man, you guys always got fire jokes in the chat when YouTube fucks me over. But yeah, that was it was a great win, and now I'm thrown off, and I don't really remember what else I wanted to say, man. Shout out to Maxey for leading the team. Again, shout out to the veterans for proving me wrong. And let's talk about it, man. I see a bunch of members in the chat. I see a couple of super chats. So here's what we're going to do the second half of this show. Because I'm kind of bored with the call-ins, so we're going to switch it up a little bit. We're going to do members and super chats, chat session, the second half of this show. That's what we're going to do. So shout out to the members, and I'm not going to block the chat for non-members. You're still alive in the chat, but I'm going to read either members' comments or super chats for the second half of this show, and my thing froze and I don't really remember what else I wanted to say. Yeah, shout out to that. Oh yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. There's two more things I want to say. I remember now. When we started the fourth quarter, or actually when we got down to like 4 minutes left, I said, who's going to be in the finishing lineup, right? Is it going to be Justin Edwards? Is it going to be a Dembona? Because we needed the paint defense, although Yabusele played much better defense on Sabonis at the end of the game than he did in the beginning of the game. So shout out to Yabusele for fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting once again. I did want to shout out that cheap shot foul by DeMar DeRozan. That was total bullshit. It should have been an ejection, and a veteran NBA player shouldn't be doing stuff like that. There's a dangerous play on Ricky Council as he's jumping to dunk the ball. He pulls him down from behind by his shoulder. He lands flat on his back. Anyway, they call it a flagrant 1 because it's the Sixers. But yeah, I wanted to say this. The last 4 minutes of the game, Nick Nurse calls a timeout. We need a push right here, right, to put the game away. And I say, who's going to be in the finishing lineup? And I see Kyle Lowry in the finishing lineup. And I was disappointed because of what I've seen throughout this season from the Sixers and Nick Nurse's love for Kyle Lowry and how bad Kyle Lowry has been defensively most of this season. He hasn't been able to really stop anybody all year. He's looked completely washed all year. So I was like, oh my God, here goes Nick Nurse and his love for Kyle Lowry, and he has him in the finishing lineup, and it's going to be a disaster. Here we go. But it wasn't. They held on to it. I'm not sure if Reggie Jackson was out there at the end. I don't think he was. I think it was Lowry, Maxey, Yabusele, Kelly Oubre. Eric Gordon wasn't even out there in the final lineup, which I thought was shocking also because Eric Gordon again had some great three-point shots in this game. He was 3 for 4 from 3. He's shooting absolutely out of his mind lately. He had 14 points in the game. But even Eric Gordon wasn't out there. And maybe Nick Nurse was looking at the plus-minuses and saying for defensive reasons, at least the stats are showing that Kyle Lowry's doing a great job this game, so I'm going with Kyle. Or it's just the fact that Nick Nurse loves Kyle Lowry. But he went with Kyle Lowry at the end of the game. I thought it was going to be a disaster. It ended up not being one. So shout out to that. Is this going to work in our favor, or is it going to get Nick Nurse on even a higher mountain, screaming to everybody that Kyle Lowry is the greatest player ever, and, run him into the ground and run the Sixers into the ground by playing him in fourth quarter lineups like that. I don't know. Who knows? I don't actually care anymore, so it is what it is. I'm just here for the vibes. But shout out to right now. That's my main question to you guys, all the members in the chat right now, and everybody. Are you back in? 4 wins in a row and 4 gutsy wins. We're talking like games that got close, that got dicey, that they got out the mud. Shout out to Paul Reed, R.I.P. And they came together as a cohesive unit, and they fought and they fought and they fought. They've showed more resiliency, fight, and heart in the last 4 games than I've seen all season. And picture this too. Speaking of the Nuggets, Nick, picture this. The last time we played the Denver Nuggets, we got embarrassed. We got ran off the floor. And the Nuggets media member said that she could hear Nick Nurse screaming and cursing at the 76ers in the locker room on the other side of the wall. And ever since that happened, after that Denver Nuggets blowout, this team has been playing together and been playing hard and winning games like this. And it all comes full circle all the way back to a rematch with the Denver Nuggets. You can't write a story better than this. So I'm saying this. Am I back in right now after 4 wins? No, because of course we got to see if Joel Embiid ever gets healthy. We got to see if Pinky P ever comes back from his, strained 5th finger ligament, which is absolutely ridiculous and the softest thing I've ever heard in my life. But I'm with you, Nick. If they beat the Nuggets on Friday, it's gonna be hold me back, fam. In the words of our boy Mark Zumoff, if they beat the Nuggets on Friday, I'm gonna be screaming, hold me back, fam. Because it's gonna be very difficult for me to not be bought back in if they beat the Denver Nuggets on Friday. Now, if Joel Embiid doesn't play, Yabusele's going to have a hell of a time with Nikola Jokic. Dembona's going to have a hell of a time with Nikola Jokic. I don't know. I don't really want to look at that game right now. But if they would pull that off, I'm going to be screaming, hold me back, fam. Because I don't know if I'm going to be able to contain myself. Alexander Vischer with the super chat. Is it safe to watch games again? No. And the reason for that is that it's never safe to watch 76ers games. 76ers games are like a python, Doesn't have poisonous venom. Doesn't have a rattle or whatever, like a rattlesnake has. It could, that thing looks pretty. People like in like weird animal shows, like hold them up, right, and show them off, and you got a friend that has a python, right? But it also will wrap itself around your neck and kill you. That's the 76ers, man. If you're choosing to watch Sixers games and you're buying back in, you're holding a python. It might be chill. It might be a vibe. It might be cool. It might also wrap itself around your neck and kill you. It's probably going to wrap itself around your neck and kill you. That's probably what's going to happen. But here's what you got to do, man. You got to watch the games just for the vibes. Shout out to RJ. You got to watch the games just for the vibes. You have to. Here's how I started to treat Sixers games this year, man. I started to treat Sixers games like I'm sitting down and watching Netflix, right? Like you're watching a drama on Netflix, right? And if the good guy dies, it was still something to watch for an hour. You know, I've completely emotionally detached from it. I'm watching it like a Netflix show. I love basketball. I love the Sixers. It's entertaining to me, but I am no longer emotionally invested this season. Whatever happens, happens. That's how I'm rolling with it. That's how I'm rolling with it. I'm not even gonna listen, man. Hey, thank you for the super chat. I'm gonna call you O. All right. Shout out to my man O. This team plays with my emotions too much. Got me thinking they can make a run after the trade deadline like Dallas did after getting Gafford and PJ Washington last year. Go Sixers anyway. First of all, shout out to my man O for being a ball knower. The Dallas Mavericks defensively last season were horrendous until the trade deadline. Like historically bad defensively until the trade deadline. And adding Daniel Gafford and PJ Washington completely changed everything about that team and took them all the way to the NBA Finals. And the rookie center, Derek Lively, who was the 7th, 10th pick in the draft, I don't remember. But that's a great comparison, dude. Because the Dallas Mavericks, nobody was really believing in the Dallas Mavericks at the beginning of the season last year because of how bad their defense was. And you're absolutely right. They couldn't guard the paint to save anybody. They couldn't guard the paint or the perimeter. And you're absolutely right. They added Gafford and PJ Washington. And the rookie came along, maybe much like a Dembona is coming along. I don't think I have the Sixers doing something like that and going to the NBA Finals. But I'm not saying it's impossible. Because I live in a universe that is completely unpredictable. Anything's possible. I'm not going to bet money on it. But that's, dude, I like that. I like that comparison, man. I like that comparison. And thank you for the super chat. All right, man. Members and supers, Q&A or hot takes or whatever you want to do, man. Throw them in the chat, and I'll react to a bunch of stuff before we get out of here. Amir Bey, my man. Member of the channel. The young guys, man. Maxey, McCain, Justin Edwards, Ricky Council, Adem Bono. We have a true young core that can develop together. Yeah, man, bro. Shout out to Jared McCain, man. Can't wait to see him back playing ball. The Jared McCain thing is like this to me, man. Whenever somebody posts Jared McCain highlights on Twitter or Instagram or whatever, I feel like we didn't know how good it actually was at the time. We didn't know, until we saw this team really struggle to score without him. We just did not really know how good it was. A rookie dropping 34 and 10 in games against good teams, and so we didn't cherish it enough, man. And then it went away, and excited to have McCain back next season. But I agree with you, man. Look at this young core, man. And we've said for a long time, Daryl Morey's been great at drafting. He's been very questionable when it comes to team building. And we always seem to have a coach that's very questionable with lineups and refusing to play young guys in a league full of young guys. But Daryl Morey's, he's been great drafting. And Isaiah Joe and Charles Bassey should be on this team, But yeah, for him to get, undrafted Justin Edwards, undrafted Ricky Council, Adem Bona out of the second round, Maxey at 21, Jared McCain at, what was Jared McCain, 16 last year? Yeah. And it is. You're absolutely right. It's a nice young core. to build around, even after the Joel Embiid, Paul George era, if it even is one, is over. Let's see, man. What else we got, man? What else we got? Let's see. Mr. Turner, Ricky Council just admitted that some players go home and cry after losses. I'm glad they do that. That means they actually care. I could see a young player being emotional after a bad performance, feeling like, he hurt his stock in the NBA or something like that. I don't know if losing a regular season game, you go home and cry about it. I could see a young player like Ricky Council being emotional when he gets minutes and has a bad game and then gets DNP'd for a couple of games and feels like, he's an undrafted player who's climbed his way into the NBA, and he probably always feels like he's right on the cusp of sustaining it, So I could see that. And player like Justin Edwards too, undrafted, who has good performances and bad performances. What else we got, man? Who do you think we trade for? Yo, shout out to my guy Broad Street Reports. Check him out on YouTube also, guys. Broad Street Reports, man. That's he had a call a couple of weeks ago where he went on a pretty epic rant about the Sixers organization that you guys enjoyed a lot. That is him. Broad Street Reports on YouTube. Who do you think they trade for? Ah, man. I don't know if I can go there yet. But who, like, in a perfect world, would I like for them to trade for? A pass first point guard who's a solid defender with some size would be nice. And a young 3-and-D to add to the core that my man Amir Bey just mentioned. Like a Herb Jones or somebody like that. I think Herb Jones would be amazing to add to this team. But I'm not sure, man. Some fringe pieces like that, some in the margin pieces like that. Maybe if the Kings do trade De'Aaron Fox, maybe they really try to go on a fire sale, man, and maybe you can get Malik Monk cheap. I would love Malik Monk on this team. I've said that for years. I wish the Sixers could have drafted him. I think it was 2017, right? Was it the Lonzo Ball draft that Malik Monk came out, man, and he was projected to be top 10 and he fell to late first, maybe second round. Or was he still a high draft pick? I don't remember. That was so long ago. But yeah, man, like two young pieces that can, I think that's my answer. Some younger pieces who can help you right now, but can also grow with the future of the team in like the Tyrese Maxey, Jared McCain era down the line. Those are my ideal trades. But also, Daryl Morey doesn't know who those guys are because he only knows star players who have been in the league for 13 plus years. So, I don't know if that's going to happen. Daryl Morey's not a guy who trades for young, up-and-coming guys like Herb Jones. He doesn't trade for margin players. He doesn't. He traded for James Harden back in the day, but after that, he didn't trade for margin players. He traded for, Russell Westbrook or Chris Paul or whatever he did. So I don't know if I have faith in Daryl Morey pulling something like that off, but that's my ideal trade, I think. Oh, my guy. Oh, it's Mufasa. All right, Mufasa, what's good, man? You emailed me, man? All right, man, I'll check it out, bro. I'll check it out. Thank you for the super chats again, bro. Durango, member of the channel. Get a pick in whatever trade. Also, and win games this year versus tank. Always better to win. Are you asking me a question here? Or are we Is this a multiple choice? Get a pick in whatever trade also and win games this year. Get a pick in whatever trade also and win games this year. Get a pick in whatever trade also win games this year. Versus tank. Always better to win. Yeah, listen, it doesn't matter because they're not going to tank anyway. They're not going to tank anyway. We already knew that. We established that a long time ago. Daryl Morey's not a tank guy. He's also a guy that's trying to protect his own reputation, and he has an ego. He's not going to tank. Daryl Morey's going to go down swinging, whether it works or not. He's a guy that swings for the fences, and he swung for the fences with the Paul George signing. He swung for the fences extending Joel Embiid. He's going to try to... That's what he's going to do. That is what he's going to do. Monk is too streaky and tries to dribble and shit too much when he gets the ball. That's why Lakers got rid of him. Yeah, it's not a guy that you want leading your offense. It's just they call them microwave scorers, you know? That's what Malik Monk is. He's a microwave scorer, you know? You bring him off the bench for 10, 15 minutes when you need him. He either gives you 15 or 20, or he's ice cold, you put him back on the bench. Yeah, you don't play him 35, 40 minutes. You don't. Nuggets fans say whatever they want. And if this stream was freezing and stuttering for a lot of guys, man, like I've been having people say that recently. And on my end, on YouTube, it says excellent connection. You know, my internet connection is fast. We're on Verizon fiber optics, 300, 500 plus download. You know, so I shouldn't be having issues here, but I've had people say it now several times. It actually seems like since I switched over to Verizon, which is the opposite of what I wanted to happen. So I'm going to have to definitely see if it's on my end and see what I can do if that's a thing that's happening. So thank you guys for letting me know because that sucks. Yeah, you said you reloaded it and that fixed it. But that's been happening to me all the time now. You know? Like, why is that happening to me is what I'm saying. I understand if you're refreshing it and that fixes it, but that just means that YouTube, figure it out, YouTube. Yeah. I think that's all I wanted to say, man. Sixers win 4 in a row. Thank you guys for contributing to the members and super chat session at the end of the show. I think that's fun for me to read members' comments and super chats the second half of the show and just chill and sit here and react to it. Might be something we keep doing down the line versus the call-in phone line, just because I got kind of bored with it. But yeah, that's all, man. Sixers win 4 in a row. We'll see what happens on Friday. You guys are the best. Thanks for tuning in.